Today, we are going to be cooking Scotch broth. And the first thing you have to learn about cooking is the joy of cooking is doing the dishes. So we're going to do a couple dishes first. And the joy of cooking is often doing the dishes. No, joy of cooking is always doing the dishes. So we have been doing dishes all day while we cooked, and we will be doing dishes after the video is all done. We will do these dishes. And we will be needing these in our cooking today. So that's what we're going to do. Nobody in any cooking show ever shows anyone ever cleaning up or doing the dishes. Well, it's time to change that. It's time to change that. There you go. So that's just a couple of the dishes that we have to do. And I'll take that dish right over here, or we'll put that right here so that we can put our ingredients in here. Are we ready?
I think so.
Okay. What we have here are the ingredients that we're going to be using today for the soup. And we'll brown those ingredients over there and put them in the stock. But first, I've got to tell you what I did yesterday. And it's the most important part of the cooking, but I did it all yesterday, so we'll just have to go with it. And that's making the stock, the lamb stock. And now let me tell you what the ingredients are in this lamb stock. 3 pounds of lamb, preferably lamb shanks, 3 onions chopped, 3 turnips chopped, a half a rutabaga chopped, 2 carrots chopped, 2 celery chopped, 1/4 head of a small cabbage chopped, a bay leaf, a half a teaspoon of lime, a tablespoon of whole black peppercorns, 1 carton of chicken broth or 3 cans, no salt. Don't put any salt. And some scotch for glazing the pan. Have to have the scotch for glazing the pan. Now, if you don't have any scotch, you can use some Jameson's or you can use whiskey, but scotch is the best. Now, what you do is basically chop up all those ingredients. You put them with the lamb. You put the broth in the crock pot. You put the crock pot on for 5 or 6 hours until the lamb falls off the bone. That's all there is to it. You take all of the vegetables out and you throw them away, let them drain. And you take the meat out in a separate bowl and save it. And you take the broth out and put it in a bowl and put it in the fridge so that it cools. As soon as it's cooled, the fat will form on the top. You want to take that fat off. And then you have the broth that's ready to go. And the meat is ready to go. And that's what you do to make the broth. Now the soup has most of the same ingredients in it. Right?
Yes.
And here are the ingredients that are in the soup. A half a cup of barley. I use 2/3 of a cup of barley because Margaret likes the barley. Soaked for an hour. I've soaked this for 3 hours, and it's getting nice and puffy. You could cook it for 15 minutes if you'd like to. 1 carrot diced, 1 large sweet onion, and a shallot. 1 leek chopped. 1/4 of a head of cabbage. 1 stalk of celery. A half a rutabaga. A small part of a parsnip, 2 or 3 turnips, depending on how large they are, and parsley, which you put at the end. And the meat that you took out of the pan, you chop it out. The art of cooking is sampling. We're going to chop up this meat and put it in. So what we're going to do first is we're going to chop all the stuff that goes into the ingredients. So, Eli, pick one that you want to chop and
Do carrots.
And
You want to peel?
You got to peel them and chop them. So I'll peel a rutabaga. If any of you haven't had rutabaga is a very sweet vegetable, wonderful to use. It often comes covered in wax to preserve it. So when you peel it, you have to be sure you're going to have a lot of wax. So don't peel it around anything else because you want to have get that wax all off. So you want to peel that. So we're going to peel all of these ingredients, and then we're going to brown them in batches if we have to. Can I turn on the heat under that? It's on low? No, it's not. Turn it on low. Get that warmed up.
Okay, good. Where do you want the peels?
Well, we'll put the peels in a bowl in the sink.
Okay.
They go in the compost. We compost all of our stuff. We have a wonderful compost pile that's been going for years. Eli has taken over the management of the compost pile, and he's told me that I've been doing it all wrong.
What?
That we never had any compost for these 10 years that I've been using compost out of it. But he is improving the quality of my compost this year. And that's his job, one of his many jobs around here. And so this is, I've got all the wax off of this.
And that is not something we will compost.
We will not compost the wax. So I need to take this and throw this in the trash.
Yes.
Voila. Now, I think I've got all of it off of there that we need to.
Okay.
I haven't told you how I found this recipe. What happened? I saved the last can of Scotch Broth that existed in this world, and I made a list of the ingredients on that can. And then I started experimenting. Well, you know, probably one rutabaga, a couple turnips, this and that and the other thing. And over the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years, time goes really fast. I have modified the recipe with a little more of this, a little less of this, to now I have what my wife, who is one that is the chief arbiter of the Scotch Broth. We got a big bowl over here. We're going to put all of the ingredients in when we have them all chopped. Now the carrots we're going to dice.
Okay.
And we're going to dice the carrots. You know what the difference between dice and chop is?
What?
Do you know?
Isn't dicing where you make it like smaller
Smaller pieces
Yeah.
than chopping. Chopping is a little larger.
Okay.
Mince is smaller than dicing.
Yes.
Right here, this is us just cutting up more of the vegetables for the soup. We wanted to show you that we're still doing all of the work, but not have it take too much time. So this is a sped up version. And he's cutting up some celery, and I'm cutting up an onion right now. There's going to be a few more of these throughout the video.
Now the reason that parsnips is the one ingredient that I put in that isn't in the original recipe for Scotch. I always use parsnip in my chicken broth. And it's a very sweet root vegetable, so I decided that I'd try a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit of parsnip. Get more chopped.
Okay, let's see.
That's good, Eli.
Okay.
You're doing good there. Not always the easiest thing to cut in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that cut. Take out the stem. I think I need to sharpen my knife. Probably do.
Yeah.
Okay, we can start. I think we can start browning this.
Okay.
Medium heat, not too hot.
Oops.
Somebody may ask, what's in the pot bubbling away? Well, that is prune pudding that we're making for dessert. That's a separate recipe that you're all welcome to have online and look at the video for. One of the things we want to do in these cooking videos is to add some cooking aphorisms. Let's see, what's my latest one? The power of food to evoke memory brings people together and transport you to other places. That's a good one. I've collected maybe 100. There's hundreds of various. Okay, I'm going to put some of this in to cooking. Is it running up here?
What?
Is the
Yeah.
camera running?
Yep.
So I'm putting in some of that. Not too hot.
In this part of the video, he's over there browning the vegetables at the stove. We had to do it in 3 batches because there's so much. But he's talking about making the broth. He didn't strain it through a sieve, but he ended up pulling out the vegetables, left the bones in. But I'm over here cutting up the turnips, and the recipe will be in the description.
Are those
Let's
too
see,
big?
what do we have left here to do?
Is that too big?
Yes.
Okay. I will do it into 6.
Got a leak, big leak. 2 small leaks or 1 big leak. Everyone says there's always a lot of dirt in a leak, but I generally don't find it too much dirt. You'll hold this for me, Eli,
Yes.
while I get this stuff out of here.
Where do you want me? Over here?
Over here. Well, there's another good theory about cooking in love. To be successful in love, you got to do a lot of homework, a lot of prep. Well, that's the same with cooking. A lot of the cooking is chopping and prepping and putting things out and cooking. They don't always show you that stuff at the cooking store. They do about a third of what they do there and they forget it. I dislike it when they say, oh, this is only 5 minutes to prep this. I've never had a 5-minute prep in my life. It always takes a half an hour. And if they say half an hour, it takes an hour.
Yeah.
You have to at least double or triple the amount of time they suggest.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you stir this up, Eli? Okay, we don't have the shallots in there yet, do we?
I think we're pretty good.
Got the scotch. Okay, you want to put it in?
Yeah. Where's the shovel?
Here's the shovel.
Thank you.
Okay. Go at it. Okay, we have this ready to go. We have our barley ready to go. I'm going to sieve here so I can strain the water out of the barley. And then we're ready to go. Excuse me. Part of the job of an old man is to keep his nose blown. This is done here. Goes in the sink. Okay, we are set to go. And this is a very hearty soup. And the success for the soup depends on getting all the ingredients right and browning them and making the right kind of broth. And if you follow the recipe that will be online for the broth, which is really easy, you just dump all the vegetables in and the lamb, cook it for 5 hours. I cooked it yesterday, 5 hours. I didn't think the lamb was done enough, so I cooked another hour, hour and a half, and that was just fine. It worked out great. How you doing, Eli?
I'm doing good.
Good. Now we just wait.
Yeah?
You might pause the tape somewhere in there. That's up to Eli.
Yeah.
Eli is not only my joint fellow cook, he's also the producer and director of all of our videos. And he does an excellent job. And I just am there to stay out of his way mostly. He dresses me and gets the room all set, sets everything up. He's a first-rate technician, and he's also a good cook. We plan on doing more of these if they look like they're received well and whether we like doing them and they're decent.
We could do one about my pie.
What?
We could do one about the pie.
You can do a pie one.
Yeah, my apple pie.
Eli made me a birthday apple pie that was just killer and made an apple crisp for Christmas. We thought we'd do 2 separate apple crisp recipes and see how that goes. And I'll come up with some more aphorisms on cooking. Have I covered all the ones that I had here? Cooking is more than recipes and ingredients. It is about harnessing imagination, empowerment, and creativity. It's kind of long and boring, but it's a nice one. You can turn off the heat and I'll deglaze the pan. Now, if you use Scotch to deglaze a pan, don't use some cheap Scotch. So this is a 14-year-old Oban Scotch. And I don't use a lot of it, but just enough to cause a little stir in the pan. Clean up the bits and pieces. That's all we need. Stir the pan. Put that in the pot here. Now it's hot.
Eat it right away, yeah.
Don't take too much of my broth now.
I know.
It's really good.
It is.
Okay, so now we're ready to put in the, what's the next step? Combine, season the broth to the salt, you bring to a boil, reduce heat to simmer, bring to a boil, reduce heat to simmer. Now that's really popping along then.
That's good.
Okay, so now we are ready to put in the barley. Now, if you're anti-Scotch in the Scotch broth, you don't have to put it in, but I like to put a little bit. All your pots need glass lids. If you don't have glass lids on your pots, go to Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul or wherever and find some used glass lids for your 10-inch and your 12-inch pot. This is the 10-inch pot. Do a lot of cooking in it. Okay, so we're going to put this in there and then let it bring to a boil and turn down the simmer. Okay, you want to fold the stuff in?
Sure.
Okay.
Can't exactly see all of it, so. Okay.
Okay, stir that up. That is our soup, except for the meat. We don't put the meat back in yet. While we do that, we'll chop up the meat while that's cooking.
Is the parsley at the end?
What?
What about parsley?
At the end. So now we bring that to a boil and turn it down to simmer, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna have that pot pretty full.
Yeah. Do I just mix it all in?
Mix what in?
Like all the vegetables?
Uh,
I don't need to keep stirring.
no, just get them mixed in. Let it come to a boil. Watch them for a boil, and we'll cut up the meat. You can cut up some of the meat. You can cut up some of the meat.
Okay. Lid off?
What?
The lid off?
Let it off until it boils. Yeah. This we can put the meat in here when we chop it.
Okay.
If there's anything else in there, chop it with it. Just chop it into bite-sized pieces. Nothing bigger than that. If it's shredded, it won't matter.
Okay. That's happening a bit of
Or you can cut it across the grain. Like if you come into one of these pieces of this big, that's across the grain is always the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Eli, I want you to tell me whether this soup is ready to put the meat in, whether the vegetables are done. Now what you're going to have to do is to find carrots, turnips, rutabaga, celery, okay, in there,
Okay.
and taste one drop of each one. A spoon will be better.
Spoon will be better.
Yeah.
We have a carrot.
Hot.
Done?
Carrots are here. What's that?
What's
one?
that?
That's a good question.
Rutabaga, bigger, chopped.
Okay. Oh wait, so we got this now. What's the other one?
That's a rutabaga.
Well, yeah. What's the other one I have to get?
Turnip,
Where's that? Here.
white one. No,
No.
no,
No.
too dark. That one right there, that's a turnip.
Okay. Yeah.
Done?
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Crunchier,
Whoa.
but still done.
Mm-hmm.
Good, we're done. Okay, so what I had Eli do was to taste each of the major vegetables and to see if it was al dente, if it was overdone, if it was ready to good to go, and if that's true, then we can put the meat in. If Eli will stop eating it.
Okay.
Okay, stir it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Cook it for 5 minutes and it's done.
The bones are still in there.
It's a nice thick soup.
Yeah.
We may want to thin it down with another can of chicken broth, depending on how we think that how the broth is, whether we think the broth can stand a little more dilution. I would like to dilute it a little more.
When are we gonna take the bones out?
We'll take the bones out anytime.
Okay.
Though they can stay in there. They can stay in there. And I'll show you how we make daisies.
Oh, that's true. Here, yeah. Let me. Not break the light.
Much like
Yep.
so you first make thick pieces of turnip like this, and then you carve out the centers of them, just leave a little edge around it. Then you have 3 slices. And this, you mark, you make the leaves of the daisies like this. Now, in the old days, we would take very great care of making these leaves just the right shape. Just with the turn of the there's the daisy leaves. Now, I'm doing this a little rough, okay? Then, get a little paprika. Get a little paprika. And you take these tops, dab them in the paprika, put a toothpick on them. And there, you have a daisy.
Ah,
And you stick that in the turkey, or we can float this in the soup. And that's how you make daisies out of turnips.
I haven't seen that before.
That's it.
Alright, cool.
That's my education for the day.
Okay.
Okay? And this is what we have to do afterwards. We close our video. We won't make you watch this. There is our Scotch broth soup, ready to go. And you can test the broth, see if you want to put any more chicken broth in there. It might have another can of chicken broth. It's this very wonderful soup with a wonderful broth, and that's what we have here. So we hope you've enjoyed this seminar on making Scotch broth soup.